Hi, I'm James, and today I want to tell you about the morning I learned that love and ownership are two very different things. The notification came while I was still in bed. Not a text, an email. Subject line, cruise update, please read. I remember the exact shade of grey the bedroom ceiling was in that moment. The way the morning light hadn't quite decided to commit yet, hanging there between dawn and day like it was waiting for permission. My wife Sarah's side of the bed was already cold. She'd been up early, excited, packing last-minute things for the Caribbean cruise we'd been planning for 8 months. The cruise I'd paid for in full. The cruise that was supposed to celebrate our 10th anniversary and include her teenage son from her first marriage. Tyler, who I'd been raising since he was 7, I opened the email with my thumb. Still half asleep, expecting a boarding pass reminder or a packing list Sarah had forwarded. Instead, I got 6 sentences that rewired my entire life. James, I've been thinking about this trip and what it means for our family. Tyler's biological father, Derek, reached out last month and wants to reconnect. He's offered to take his place on the cruise so Tyler can have this experience with his real dad. I think this is what's best for everyone. You understand, don't you? We'll celebrate our anniversary another time. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. I sat up slowly, feeling the weight of 10 years settle into my chest like sediment at the bottom of a river. Through the open bedroom door, I could hear Sarah in the kitchen, humming something cheerful, the coffee maker gurgling its morning song. The sound of normalcy, the sound of someone who'd just dismantled a decade and didn't even have the courage to say it to my face. I got dressed in silence. Jeans, a button-down boots. I moved like I was underwater, every action deliberate and strange. When I walked into the kitchen, Sarah was transferring muffins from a tin to a plate. Her hair pulled back, wearing the turquoise sundress I'd bought her last summer. She looked up and smiled, that bright, easy smile that used to make me forget bad days at work, and traffic, and bills. "Morning, babe," she said. "Did you see my email?" I stood in the doorway. "I saw it," she nodded, setting down the spatula. "I knew you'd understand. Derek really wants to make things right with Tyler, and this is such a perfect opportunity. You're always saying how important father-son bonding is." I was talking about me and Tyler. Her smile flickered. "Well, yes, but Derek is his actual father. Blood matters. James, blood matters." I'd heard that phrase before, whispered at family gatherings by Sarah's mother. Implied in the way Derek's name was spoken with a reverence I never earned despite being the one who showed up to every parent-teacher conference, every baseball game, every midnight fever and homework meltdown. I was the one who taught Tyler to ride a bike, to change a tire, to shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. But blood matters. "So, I'm just not going," I said. It wasn't a question. "It's only a week. We'll plan something special when I get back. Just us." She said it like she was offering me a consolation prize. Like 7 days in the Caribbean with her ex-husband while I stayed home was a reasonable trade. I looked around the kitchen, the marble countertops I'd saved for 3 years to install. The backsplash Sarah picked out, the one she said would make the house feel like home. The refrigerator covered in Tyler's artwork from elementary school, most of it addressed to James in crayon. This house, this life, I'd built it board by board, payment by payment, thinking I was building something permanent. "When do you leave?" I asked. "Flight's at 2. Derek's meeting us at the airport." She glanced at her watch. "Actually, I should finish packing." She kissed me on the cheek as she passed, a quick, distracted peck, like kissing a roommate goodbye. I stood there in the kitchen I'd renovated, in the house I'd bought before I even met Sarah, and felt something fundamental shift inside me. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, something that understood that I'd been playing a game where the rules could change without warning, and I'd never even been told I could lose. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Every account was in my name. The mortgage, my name. The title to the house, my name. When we'd gotten married, Sarah said she didn't want to deal with the paperwork of changing everything, and I'd been fine with that. I trusted her. I trusted us. Now, staring at those accounts, I understood that trust and foolishness sometimes wore the same face. Tyler came downstairs around 9, suitcase wheels thumping on each step. He was 15 now, taller than me by an inch, with his mother's dark eyes and his father's jawline. A father he barely remembered but was apparently ready to embrace on a luxury cruise I was funding. "James," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Buddy, Mum told you about the change, right?" "She told me." He shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "It's not like I asked for this. Derek he wanted to, be there." I wanted to ask where Derek had been for the last 8 years. I wanted to ask if Tyler remembered who'd sat with him in the emergency room when he broke his wrist, who'd helped him study for his algebra final, who'd taught him to drive last summer in this very driveway, but I didn't, because I could see it in his eyes. That pull toward the idea of a real father, the biological one. The one whose absence had somehow made him more important than my presence ever could. "Have a good trip," I said. He nodded and dragged his suitcase toward the door. By 11, they were gone. Sarah backed out of the driveway in the SUV I'd co-signed for. Tyler in the passenger seat, staring at his phone. Both of them already gone in the ways that mattered before the car even turned the corner. The house settled into silence. The particular kind of quiet that feels like judgment. I sat at the dining table, the one Sarah and I had picked out together at an estate sale in Portland, and opened my laptop. I'd been in real estate before switching to property management. I knew exactly how the process worked. I pulled up the county records, confirmed what I already knew, then opened a new browser tab and searched for real estate attorneys in the area. I called the first one. A woman named Patricia Chen answered, her voice professional and warm. I explained the situation in clinical terms. House solely in my name, wife currently on a trip, wanted to sell quickly. "How quickly?" she asked. "Today." There was a pause. "That's aggressive." "I'm motivated. Mr. James. Just James. James, I need to be clear about something. If your wife has been living there, she may have certain rights regardless of whose name is on the deed. Oregon law, I understand the risks," I said. "I'm willing to take them." Another pause. "All right. I know an agent who specializes in quick sales. I'll send you her information. But James, you should think carefully about this." I'd been thinking carefully for 10 years. I was done thinking. By 1 o'clock, I was shaking hands with Rebecca Torres, a real estate agent with sharp eyes and a nonsense handshake. She walked through the house with a tablet, making notes, taking photos. She didn't ask why I was selling. She didn't ask where my family was. She just did the math. "I can list this today," she said. "Market's hot right now. We price it right. We could have offers by tonight." "Price it to move," I said. She looked at me carefully. "You're sure about this?" I thought about Sarah's email. About blood mattering. About 10 years of being treated like a guest in my own life. I've never been more sure of anything. We listed it at 3 o'clock, priced $15,000 under market value. By 6, we had 3 offers. By 8, I'd accepted one. Cash buyer, inspection waived, closing in 5 days. The buyers were a young couple, military family relocating to the area, buying their first home. They sent me a picture of their baby daughter. I looked at that picture for a long time. The next few days passed in a strange, mechanical blur. I hired movers. I rented a storage unit. I found a small apartment across town, 1 bedroom, nothing special. But it was mine in a way this house had never really been. I boxed up Tyler's things carefully, labeled everything, stored it all where Sarah could access it if she ever asked. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. They weren't supposed to be back until Saturday, but I'd planned for that. The closing was Friday at noon. I signed the papers in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and new beginnings. The young couple signed across from me, holding hands, the wife's eyes bright with emotion. They kept thanking me. I kept nodding. By Friday evening, the house was empty except for the furniture Sarah had brought into the marriage. Neatly arranged in the living room with a note, "Your things." Storage unit information attached. Keys with the new owners. I'd changed my phone number. I'd opened a new bank account. I'd done everything a man does when he's not running away, but finally running toward something, even if that something is just the truth of his own worth. I heard about their return from Patricia Chen, who heard from the new owners, who called her in a panic when a woman showed up with a key that didn't work and started screaming on the front lawn. Sarah called the police. The police called the new owners. The new owners called their attorney. Their attorney called Patricia. Patricia called me. They're threatening to sue, she said. Sarah claims you abandoned her, that this was marital property. Do they have a case? Not a strong one. The house was yours before the marriage. Title never changed. But it's going to be messy. Let it be messy. We ended up in mediation 3 weeks later. Sarah sat across from me in a grey blazer I'd never seen before, her lawyer beside her. A man in his 50s with expensive glasses and a cheaper tie. Derek wasn't there. Apparently, he'd had to get back to California for work right after the cruise. Of course he did. Tyler was there though, sitting next to his mother, arms crossed, looking confused and angry and hurt in that particular way teenagers do. When they're starting to understand that adults are just people who've been disappointing each other longer. Sarah's lawyer started strong. Mr. James built a life with my client. He accepted her son as his own. He made promises. This sale was an act of financial abuse and abandonment. Patricia Chen didn't blink. My client fulfilled every promise he made. He provided a home. He provided support. He paid for family vacations he wasn't allowed to attend. The house was his sole property before the marriage and remained so throughout. He broke no laws and violated no agreements. He violated the spirit of their marriage, Sarah's lawyer said. Marriage is a legal contract, Patricia replied. And in this case, the contract was clear. The mediator, a tired-looking man in his 60s, looked at me. Did you discuss this sale with your wife before proceeding? She didn't discuss excluding me from our anniversary trip before proceeding, I said. She sent an email. Sarah's face flushed. That's not the same thing, isn't it? I looked at her directly for the first time since we'd sat down. You made a unilateral decision about our family. I made one about my property. The difference is, my name was actually on what I gave away. Tyler spoke up then, his voice cracking slightly. You didn't even talk to me. You just left. No, I said quietly. You left. On a cruise I paid for, with a father who shows up when it's convenient. I stayed here and made sure you had something to come home to for 8 years. Where I failed was thinking that mattered. The room went silent. The mediation didn't change anything legally. The house was sold. The money was mine. But something shifted in that silence. Something I saw in Tyler's eyes. A recognition maybe. Or the beginning of one. It's been 6 months now. I live in my small apartment with its view of the parking lot and its walls that don't echo with other people's choices. Tyler texts me sometimes, awkward messages about school or games or nothing much. We meet for lunch occasionally. It's stilted and careful, but it's honest. Sarah remarried last month. Derek, of course. They bought a condo with her portion of what little we'd accumulated together. I heard they're happy. I hope they are. I mean that. What I learned, sitting in that empty house on that first morning, reading that email, is that you can't build a home inside someone else's idea of family. You can't make yourself essential by being useful. Love isn't the same as being needed. And a place at the table isn't the same as belonging. I don't regret selling the house. I regret the years I spent thinking I had to earn what should have been freely given. I regret treating my own worth like it was negotiable. Some people will tell you I overreacted. That I was petty. That I should have been the bigger person. But here's what I know now. Being the bigger person for people who see you as small doesn't make you noble. It makes you a volunteer for your own erasure. If you're reading this, or listening, or however this story found you, and you recognize that feeling, that sense of being permanently temporary in your own life, I want you to know something. Your presence isn't a favor you grant. Your love isn't alone waiting to be called in. And the moment someone treats you like you're disposable, you have every right to take yourself off the shelf. I sold a house that day, but what I really did was buy myself back. And brother, sister, whoever you are, that's the only property that truly matters.